Asante Jr.'s love for writing started with just one class. Now, with 3 books to his name, he's tackled the written word and continues to find new outlets for his storytelling. Such passion for writing. It's oozing out of every pore you have. Filmmaking's also in the mix.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that and what language. That's another language for you, but what you're trying to express with it.
I always watched a lot of films growing up. That was something that was interesting to me. But I never thought about making a film. It's never even thought about it, right? But I meet these filmmakers. We start talking about film. They show me things. And start learning about this. This is really interesting. And then I began to realize that fundamentally, a film starts with writing. I mean, at the base level, you have writing. I enrolled in a film class in London. Started learning things about cameras and all that and lights, and I made a couple short films when I was in London. And then that same film crew that I had met while I was there, we started a project. But we made an observation and we had an obligation. The observation was, how come there's no film, like a documentary, that really explores the effects of slavery and colonialism on people of African descent and does it globally, goes to like a lot of countries, and is a film that's going to be empowering, uplifting, not something where you're like depressed at the end. That was just an observation. And so we decided we're going to start making this.
It's foolish.
That observation resulted in Asante's first film 500 years later.
Determined by the mental impact.
And then I began to see the impact that it could have. When you kind of look at my first film and my first book, the first film had such a wider impact than the book because it was able to do so much more. And then, you're talking about visual mediums, you're talking about collaborative work. Where writing is very solitary, film is very collaborative. You're always working with people, and so I kind of liked both of those different experiences, writing by myself for a while, but then being in the film mix and collaborating with people. And so that's how I got into it. And then from there, I went to UCLA Film School, and after that, it was a wrap.
Statement about a people.
Asante also teamed up with famous poet Maya Angelou for The Black Candle.
World Bank will not save us. IMF will not save us.
And his latest film, Motherland, won Best Documentary at the Pan-African Film Festival. Asante's passion has eventually led him to inspire others. At age 23, he became a creative writing and film professor at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. Now at 29, he's a tenured professor. Why do you teach?
For me, one of the things that was so deep, education, I told you, don't let school get in the way of your education, but education can also happen in school. And I told you about Crefeld and how it was transformative for me, how those teachers impacted me. One thing that I always wanted to do was I wanted to demystify certain things. And I love learning, I love challenging, I love intellectual conversation and engagement. So that's something that I just love. I love teaching, I love giving back. To me, teaching is also a way to keep learning. I'm an eternal student. I will always be a student. That's why I teach.
Do they feel more comfortable speaking to you and relating to you in a way that maybe when you were at school, at least for some of that time, after 12 years of age, you couldn't find that person to relate?
I think it actually enhances the experience for everybody, and it also shows them, this is the thing that's always been really important for me. I've always been inspired by examples. I want to show them and other young people, like the kids in my neighborhood, the high school kids, who are in Baltimore City Public Schools. I want to show them this is what a professor can look like. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm a professor. Yeah, I write books. You can write books too.
As you teach, you also give talks at other schools.
Yeah, a lot of talks.
A lot of talks. And not just here, you travel the world. Yeah. What do you talk about?
Since 2002, I've done over 100 colleges and universities and just different venues all over the world. So every year I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements. One of the stories that I tell sometimes when I go to different universities to speak or different venues is I tell a story about a young man that I met in prison who we did a creative writing workshop in his prison. And, you know, because I don't just speak in schools, that's the other thing. I sometimes speak in prisons and other places. So we did a creative writing workshop, and after the workshop, I went to his cell to see where he lived. And there was something different about his cell, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was initially. But then I figured it out. He didn't have a bed. So I asked him about it. I said, hey, man, how come you don't have a bed? And he says, he starts laughing. He says, man, I got one. And he goes underneath his bunk and he shows me he has a mattress. He says, I got a mattress. It's cool. You don't have to go try to get me a bed. I have something. He says, I just don't sleep on it. So what do you sleep on? I said. He says, well, I sleep on the floor, against the wall, the steel frame, anything, but not on the bed. So now I'm like, well, why? Why don't you sleep on the bed? You know, what's the deal? What did the bed ever do to you? And he says, brother, and he gets close to me and looks me right in the eyes, and he says, brother, I don't sleep on that bed because I can't trust comfort in a place like this. He says, comfort here in a place like this numbs you to the reality of what's really going on and why. So for him, sleeping on the floor reminded him in that raspy voice of reality where he really was and why. Well, I think about art that way. I think about art as being the force that removes the mattress from underneath our slumbering selves and lets us know what's going on and where we are.
It's been an incredible journey. It's still going on. Where do you want it to go next?
I like to do things on a big level and just kind of continue to take things to a higher level, because for me, if you're going to be serious about art and you're going to be serious about the work that you're making, you have to also be serious about making sure that it reaches people, you know? And so that's something that's important to me. Obviously, you know, it's not necessarily like a goal, like I have a number goal, but if I'm going to be investing my energy and my time on something that I think is really important, sure, I want millions and billions to read it and have access to it. You know, that's just logical.